Vladimir Putin has just won his 5th term as the president of the Russian Federation, and with it, a new world is rising in 2024. We're going to see the latest on Putin's unprecedented tenure as Russian president, and we're going to see exactly how that tenure is overseeing a new civilizationalist world rising in our midst. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your patron professor, here to help you stay sane during these insane times. You know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Let's dive right in. President Putin won a massive landslide victory over the weekend, securing well over 80% of the vote in a largely uncontested election. Of course, it was a victory that was summarily denounced by the world, or so we were told by our own propagandistic media, who together chided Putin for so woefully failing to hold a free and fair election. Yes, I know you could cut the irony with a knife. What's going to be next? Are they going to sick Fani Willis on his political opposition? Well, of course, what the legacy media really meant was Western nations denounced Russia. Western, liberal, secular, woke nations are indeed refusing to recognize the legitimacy of Putin's presidency, but not India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi wrote this on X, quote, "Warm congratulations to His Excellency, Mr. Vladimir Putin, on his re-election as the President of the Russian Federation. I look forward to working together to further strengthen the time-tested, special and privileged strategic partnership between India and Russia in the years to come." Well, that sounds like quite the endorsement to me, and that coming from the leader of 20% of the world's population. Modi has his own election this year as well. President Xi of China also congratulated Putin and was excited to further develop their economic and military alliance. Well, that's now 40% of the world's population. And of course, we could keep going and going. Leaders from Asia, the Middle East, Africa, Latin America, they're all praising Putin's leadership over the last 20-plus years and are very excited to work closer with Russia in the building up of a very new world. In fact, an Estonian journalist learned firsthand just how popular Putin really is with the Russian people.
Проголосовала за Путина.
За Путина?
Да.
А почему за Путина?
А почему вас так это удивляет?
Он сидит у власти 25 лет, больше, чем Брежнев, не надоел?
Нет. Человека вообще-то судят по его делам. Вы вообще были в России 25 лет назад и вот в настоящее время?
Вас не смущает, что Владимир Путин 25 лет у власти?
Нет, не смущает. Если человек справляется с работой, пусть он работает хоть 100 лет. Возьмите даже любую работу.
Скажите, как прошло голосование?
Отлично.
Если не секрет, за кого голосовали?
За Путина.
Почему?
Потому что он лучший.
Because he is the best. You see, the legacy media, and I think Westerners as a whole, even our broader conservative media here in the States, they all have a very hard time understanding how and why Russians and so many all over the world revere Putin the way they do. And I'm going to show you exactly why Putin is so popular. But first, I want to give a huge shout out to all of you who came to our rescue. As many of you know, our channel's been completely demonetized by big tech overlords who are in effect trying to silence us and disrupt our relationship with one another. But you, literally thousands of you, stepped in and you rescued me in this channel by bypassing big tech and joining our Insiders Club. You made it loud and clear to the Silicon Valley oligarchs that we are a movement, an army of like-minded patriots who refuse to be silenced by the international woke police. And so, once again, I just want to take this moment to thank each and every one of you who have joined our Insiders Club, for coming to our rescue. And for those of you who want to join in on the effort and take action, just click on the link below and join our email list. That way, we'll never, ever lose touch with one another, no matter what big tech does. Click on that link below, join our email list, and become a part of an army, literally of hundreds of thousands of patriots dedicated to taking our nation back together. One of the examples of Putin's authoritarianism that Western leaders always point to is Russia's treatment of Alexei Navalny, who was apparently poisoned and then imprisoned and has since, unfortunately, died. Now, one of the things that we have to get here, I think it's very important for us to understand, most Russians didn't believe Navalny was even poisoned. and the vast majority of the nation didn't support him or his movement. Navalny was lucky if he got 10% approval rating in Russia, okay? Navalny was literally a total fabrication of the Western media. All the hype around him simply did not exist in reality. And according to Russian studies professor Paul Robinson, do you want to take a guess as to why Russians never supported Navalny or even believed he was poisoned? You want to take a guess as to why most Russians never bought the whole Navalny saga or movement? It's because they knew that the Western media wanted them to. The Russian public rejected Navalny precisely because our legacy media supported him. That's so key to understanding Putin's popularity. Putin has been brilliant in positioning himself as a powerful hedge, a bulwark, against what Russians perceive to be a vicious Western hostility towards them. Remember, another way of thinking about this is that for us, the culture wars are a civil war. It's a war between two sides within our nation. For Russians, the culture wars are a foreign invasion. It's about woke values that literally have no place among the Russian population at all. Putin has been politically brilliant in positioning himself as the bulwark against that invasion, as well as overseeing a booming economy and military. And that is why so much of the world is inclining itself towards Russia in 2024. Russia, of course, is at the heart of the alternative international economic bloc known as BRICS. For those who don't know, BRICS is basically a parallel G7 that is now, after incorporating a number of the OPEC countries, it has now officially surpassed the G7 share of the world's gross domestic market, encompassing upwards of 40% of global production as opposed to the G7's 30%. The BRICS membership countries doubled last year, and if the amount of requests to join over the coming months are any indicator, BRICS will continue to grow exponentially. But it's not just the growth that's key here. What geopolitical analyst Pepe Escobar notes is that central to this rising economic bloc is a whole new international payment system that will directly challenge the dominance of the U.S. dollar. Now, they're already using, to a certain extent, KIPS, which is China's interbank payment system. It's their substitute to SWIFT, which has been until recently the default worldwide financial transaction system. SWIFT, if you don't know, is basically the financial infrastructure of globalism. But KIPS is China's parallel financial transaction platform. And one of the reasons why the Russian Federation was largely unaffected by the blitzkrieg of Western sanctions, which included kicking Russia's central bank off of SWIFT, is because Russia simply turned around and recalibrated its economy around these parallel structures like KIPS. So Russia's economy today, by all measures, is actually booming, even though they just surpassed Iran as the single most sanctioned nation on the planet. Well, what's happening here with BRICS, or better BRICS Plus with all the new member countries coming in, is that they're creating a parallel economy that's actually not just replacing the dollar as a default currency, but in point of fact is becoming the default dominant economy in the world. They're effectively pushing out the G7 as the central economic driver of global production. So now you can see why Putin is seen as such a formidable force in the Russian Federation. He's viewed as a protector and defender of Russian cultural and economic interests at home, and he's seen as the chief architect of a whole new geopolitical order with Russia at its center. Putin has indeed redefined the world, both for 2024 and beyond.